Hello YouTube! Welcome to the grand finale of my series trying to beat Honkai Star Rail Endgame in 1 month as a free-to-play player. Let's recap our journey so far for those who are new to the series. We started a month ago by pulling Himiko from the starter banner and powered through the campaign to reach Trailblaze level 50. In week 2 we started our pulls by losing the 50-50 to Bailu, who we're not going to use, and then picked up our Fei Shao. Next we won the 50-50 for Robin, which allowed us to keep pulling her banner to pick up her E1. Throughout these pulls we also picked up an E4 Mose, and because I wanted to get him to E6 we kept pulling, and ended up losing a 50-50 for Bronya, who we are also not going to use. With the core of our follow-up and break teams ready, we started the endgame finishing half of it. In week 3, we reached Trailblaze level 60 and used all of the fuel that we've accumulated so far to farm a set of relics, which allows us to push our progress in the endgame to 75% completion. In the 4th week, we worked on the traces of our characters, which allowed us to push the endgame a few more stars. Which brings us to the start of the Linksha banner and the end of this project. We already set up the pity for Linksha with that Bronya pull earlier, so after 70 more pulls we get our Super Break Queen. Next is her light gun. We pick up another copy of Dance Dance Dance, which is always welcome, and then we win an early 75-25 to pick up the light cone. Correction, we win 2 early 75-25s to pick up 2 light cones. I'm not going to use this second copy for a superimposition in this project. We already pre-farmed the materials for Linksha, so let's go right away into the endgame, beginning with Memory of Chaos. Previously Lynx was the healer on this team, which is not a good target for Marsh's Sifu. However, Linksha is a great target to be Sifu, and we take advantage of it on this stage since March retains her imaginary typing. The Howling Casket will feed us energy, so I want to focus on the Trampler for now. The Wolf Trooper heals when it enrages, so we break it here so it doesn't get to do that, and so it gets cleaned up by Linksha's AoE. This Trampler will now die to the AoE, so we switch back to the Howling Casket. I could probably finish the casket here with March, but I want to first farm up some energy in preparation for the next wave. The casket will be annoying with its crowd control, so we focus on killing it first. The rabbit is next in the turn order, so we'll save the ultimate for now. Now we use the ult. We don't want the Kafka grenades to kill somebody. This ult is a bit of a mistake since it was already almost Sushang's turn anyway. She doesn't have a broken target to hit yet, so we'll use it on Kafka to prepare her for breaking later. Sushang will just basic here, because I need a skill point to refresh Lingsha's rabbit. The rabbit finishes the casket and we get started on Kafka. The budget Super Break team struggles a bit with keeping enemies locked down without Ruin Mei's extra delay. So one nice thing with a hyperactive March is that her imaginary break gives us plenty of time to actually kill the target. Last week, the break team finished MOC11 in 6 cycles, but with Lingsha's help, we can now do the much more difficult MOC12 in only 4 cycles. Having 6 cycles left gives Feixiao team a nice head start, so we will take our time and prioritize not dying. Okay, please stop hitting Lynx now. It's a common trope that the 4-star healers can heal endgame, and that is true, but their main weakness is a lack of reactive healing and cleansing. And it's easy to see how somebody would have died here if anybody other than Lynx was the focus of all that damage. Now we kill the lieutenant and use a single Feixiao skill to kill both of the weakened cannoneers. A skill point with Lynx here because I know the remaining damage will be enough, and because I want Lynx to have her ult ready for Aventurine. Aventurine opens up with a big chunk of damage and reduces your energy, so if Lynx is not close to her ult, you can get into a lot of trouble. We zero cycle the first wave, so now we really have plenty of time and continue our strategy of making sure to stay alive. The second thing we need to do is to make sure we win the dice game, which we will do by making sure that Robin has enough energy to ult during the dice game and give everybody else on the team another turn. Here we got lucky and ended the dice game early. Generate a skill point with Feixiao because Lynx will need a heal. Bit of a mistake here. I didn't need to let him hit me here before phasing him. And we heal again. We want to stay alive and facial basics here to generate a skill point. We are going to have a dice phase soon and Robin is low on energy, so she will need 2 skill points to get her ult back in time. This is why we healed with a skill earlier, so that we can respond to Aventurine's AoE damage with our own AoE heal. One weird thing is Mose can't skill a dice here, and I'm actually not sure why. Fortunately, the follow-up from Fei Xiao is enough to get Robin her ult, and give everybody an extra attack that lets them beat Aventurine's dice game. Robin is the only one to lose the game, but she can't be crowd controlled, and we heal the Lynx right away. We're not quite ready for the dice game yet, so we use Fei Xiao's ult to interrupt Aventurine from triggering it. Now he wakes up and triggers the game, but this time we'll have Robin's ult ready. See what I mean about Mose's skill? Why is he able to use it on dice now, but wasn't able to before? Anyway, we finish with a comfortable 8 cycle clear. One mode down, next is Apocalyptic Shadow. Mose has a bad matchup against the dice, so for most of this phase, his job will be to generate skill points. After the weekend reset, we were able to finally get the Echo of War materials that Fei Xiao needed to upgrade her traces, and now she can more reliably kill a single dice with one skill. Meanwhile, Mose can still contribute by killing the dice with his ult. You'll notice that Natasha is healing instead of Lynx, and that's because her physical typing allows her to break a Venturine here where Lynx wasn't able to. We have plenty of skill points, so we heal to get Natasha's ult back before our Venturine wakes up. At this point we're around 100 action value faster than last week, which ironically is a bit too fast for Natasha's healing. I want to slow things down to make sure she gets that ult. You can see here, with two party members low, how we might have been in trouble if Natasha was farther away from her ult at this point. We have plenty of skill points, so we can burn some of them on Mose here to get his ult back faster. Attacking here with Natasha wouldn't phase him, so we heal instead. This side actually ends up being a little slower than last week. We probably could have finished about 150 action value faster if we didn't slow down our DPS, but it's a good example of how a 5-star sustain can really speed you up just by removing the anxiety of trying to keep everybody alive. Last week the budget break team didn't manage to finish the second side. Can Linksha save the run? Once again, we make Linksha the Shifu. This ult is probably a mistake. I should let the rabbit take its turn before using the ult. We can already see the improvement over last week. Then we didn't have enough pressure to kill even one of these flowers before Fentilia phases, and now we're going to get both of them. Linksha will put out more pressure on the flowers than Himiko, so we have Himiko be skill point generating for now. Oops, that's a misclick. I intended for Linksha to skill here. That's fine. Himiko will be the one that puts more pressure on Fentilia as the flowers start dying, so we start scaling with her instead here. (1713) is very good time on breaking Fentilia. It's an improvement of almost 500 action value over last week. Not having to worry about healing or cleansing because of Linksha's rabbit and just being able to focus skill points into damage helps a lot. I used the Harmony ult here a little early because I want to buff everybody with Watchmaker trying to get the kill and the 0 action value, but we end up missing the damage by a little bit, unfortunately. This first set of Phase 2 flowers gets regenerated very quickly, but with the new pressure that we're putting out, we're able to kill almost all of them now. Keep focusing the destruction flowers since they buff our break damage. Fentilia is close to breaking. We focus on her now. We will clean up the flowers with our AoE. Unfortunately here, we don't get one more skill to bounce to break Fentilia, but the rabbit gets her in retaliation. Again, I ult prematurely with Lingsha here. It's my first day playing the character, so I'm still learning. But it doesn't matter because we finished fast enough for full stars. This is a massive improvement over last week, and these final 2 stars in Apocalyptic Shadow are entirely Lingsha's contribution. Now the final raid boss, the most difficult endgame mode, Pure Fiction. If there's a mode that would cause me to fail this project, it is definitely this one. Last week we had a decent result on this stage running Fei Xiao in March, which made me optimistic that power leveling Herda will get us over the edge. I planned for exactly this and saved up enough XP books for her, so the only thing I had to farm was trace materials. The strategy behind this team is straightforward. Fei Xiao puts enemies below half health and Herda cleans them up. A big advantage is that Fei Xiao is able to one-shot the dinosaurs with her ultimate, which is something a lot of other teams struggle with. This team doesn't do a lot of breaking for the whimsicality, but in the second wave, we do have many frost vulnerable enemies that Herda can take advantage of. We hold the Herda ult until Robin gets her ult back first. Final wave with an entire cycle left. This is pretty good. The dinosaurs are not dying anymore to a Fei Xiao ult, and that's because these wave 3 dinos have 2 times as much health as the ones in wave 1. I think that's an obnoxious and dirty move from MiHoYo. Don't hit Robin, don't hit Robin, don't hit Robin. Oh lord, that was close. One of the problems this team has is skill points. Lynx really wants to skill at some point, but can't because she needs to be feeding skill points to the DPS. It would be so much easier if I had Gallagher. Lynx go down, but we finish with 32,000 points. We're so close. Last week the break team struggled on this side, finishing with less than 20k points. Will Lynx be enough? Against 4 targets, Linksha will do more pressure than Himiko, so we will have Himiko be the skill point generator. Being able to Shifu Linksha with March finally is such a big deal because of the extra toughness damage that it lets her do. Without it, we would not be breaking this elite. Obviously, you can do the same with Gallagher, but new players that started in the past few months don't have access to a guaranteed Gallagher. Last week we had to run this stage with Asta, but bringing Herta to the first side lets us move March back here. She serves an important role breaking these cannoneers that are not vulnerable to fire. The cannoneers were actually fire weak wolves early in the beta, but miHoYo brought in the cannoneers instead because they need this purification to sell Rappa as well. The result is that Himiko super break teams can lose a lot of time while they wait for Harmony MC to break them, so March helps us speed the clock up by breaking them herself. Let's wait for the cannoneer to be broken before using this ultimate. Again, we wait for the cannoneer to be broken. March can break both of the cannoneers here. Nice. Alright, the last wave with one cycle left. This is going to be close. Let's start by pushing the wave by killing the birds. Oh, now you're screwed. We have a Nika no Saiwa chain going. Okay, 58,000, we're very close. How do we do this? I guess let's push the birds? I see the path. 83%, 100%, whimsicality. Yeah! Alright, we did it. We beat the game in 1 month. We can finally relax now that we have every single one of these stars. Pure Fiction had me worried for a while there, but we did it. Let's talk about the account itself. So this was free to play. We did not use anything from the Battle Pass on the resources. We did not have anything from the monthly pass. And we didn't buy any Stellar Jade from the store. Everything for this challenge came from the game. The account itself started when we pulled Himiko on the starter banner on August 30th. And it finished when we pulled Link Sha on October 2nd. Let's talk about the characters, I guess, and show you their builds. So Fei Xiao was a great hyper carry, very happy with her. She definitely pulled her weight. I was impressed with how flexible she is. The alternative to Fei Xiao was going to be Kafka and Black Swan, and I think pulling those may have worked, but in general I went with Fei Xiao because I thought the whimsicalities and turbulences were more favorable to follow-up team. Next up is Link Sha. I'm also very happy with her. She did so much work on the break team. Obviously, if you have Gallagher, maybe she's in a more questionable spot, but for me, she's basically responsible for at least 2, 4, maybe like 5 or 6 of those stars that we got. And she was a massive improvement for Apocalyptic Shadow over running a normal healer like Link's. I will need to do an entire episode basically dedicated to her because she's in a weird spot where I think players need some convincing that she is great. Robin, fantastic character. I think a lot has been written already about Robin, but even in this unoptimized state, she, performed very well. Definitely a high recommend on her reruns, and this E1 is fantastic. You really feel the punch to it. Definitely recommend getting that, especially since her event icon is going to be in the Herta store. Next up is Mose. Mose is a terrific damage dealer that unfortunately is hindered by his skill getting him stuck on a target, which sort of makes his utility not that universal. But you know what? That's what makes him a great 4-star, and there's a place for him and there's a place for Topaz. But as far as Mose goes, very happy with him overall. A little annoying mechanically, but I think having a good 4-star to support your team on the banner is something that's very important to be able to finish a challenge like this. Himiko herself. Himiko got her signature off of the standard banner at one point, which is great. 7 out of 10. I wonder if I over-invested in these because in the end, it didn't feel like the crit damage was that impactful. But, you know, she did good. She's not the perfect hat for March. Obviously, having Gallagher or Linkshot is the better hat because it improves March's toughness damage. But, you know, Himiko definitely did a lot of work, and I do think she's the best character on the standard banner right now. You know, typically people would say that Bronya, where is she? You know, Bronya is the best character, but I think Bronya has really fallen off. I had zero incentive to level her. Maybe if I gotten Bronya early, I would have used her on the Fei Xiao team, but Robin's just that much better. And so, you know, the only meta team that Bronya got in the last year is Boot Hill. You know, she doesn't fit on Break team. She doesn't really fit on Acheron's team. She's okay on Fei Xiao's team, but Fei Xiao ran with Robin, so why would you use Bronya? You would just pull both. Definitely, I think Himiko is the best character on that banner right now, and something that would help new players a lot. Sushan got leveled late in the process, and I probably over-invested in her as well. She didn't need all these Eidolons. I mean, Ascension and Trace Materials, because she mostly just ended up doing some toughness damage while the rest of the team did most of the damage, which is fine. You know, dealing a lot of toughness to prepare the enemies for the rest of your team is important too. Herda, fantastic character. Very happy with her. You know, these are not maxed out traces. I couldn't even finish out this one because it's not that important actually, but also because I just didn't have the Echo of War materials. I will say that it may be possible, especially as new chapters and more resources come out and get added to the game, to maybe finish this game in 3 weeks. But there's like a natural limit to how fast you can do it, because you'll just end up not being able to actually ascend all your characters on these trace materials. So you end up losing a lot of traces there. But 3 weeks in the future may be possible. Herda, however, is, you know, fantastic. She performs well with Fei Xiao. And I wonder if, like, does she put Jade in a weird spot where, like, you know, if I have Fei Xiao, do I even bother pulling an E1 Jade? Like, if I have Herda doing a basically similar job? I don't know. Serval. So, Serval was kind of disappointing, I think. I definitely feel like I over-invested in her because she ended up not being on my final Pure Fiction 4 team, and I kind of expected this. The problem with Serval is that she doesn't have a follow-up the way all the other Erudition characters do. So she can't really effectively clean up Pure Fiction enemies, and so she starts to really fall behind. By the way, this is the break set that she was wearing. This would go to Himiko, or this would go to Sushang when they were the break character. I only ended up with 4 total sets, so there was a lot of relics being moved around. I would say that she's probably still a decent build for new players because she does have a place in the meta. She is a good Lightning Shifu for March if that one is necessary on some stage. And she does have better whimsicalities. The AoE Ultimate one is probably her best one. The one that we just had leave. But in general, I'm kind of underwhelmed by her. March, absolute bomb. Got a nice little upgrade with the Mose Light Cone from the banner for Linkshot. on this team. You know, she can work on any team. Doesn't even need that much investment in her traces, although we did invest in her because she was doing so much good work for us. She can work on crit teams. She can work on break teams. She can work by enabling just entire characters that new players have access to, like, let's say Yukong, for example, because she is so skill point positive. Definitely probably the best 4-star in the game, I think, right now. And a must build for new players. And the same thing goes for Harmony MC. So we did get lucky with S4 Dance Dance Dance. I think that was the one piece of luck that we had that was above average, outside of what I calculated, and that definitely helped. But, you know, Harmony MC, when we started this project, one of the things I wanted to find out was how good were new accounts now that they had access to March and HMC, but did not have access to Ruan Mei, because that banner has passed, and did not have access to the free Dr. ratio that I had in my previous challenge. And I think HMC's team did very well. You know, they were able to push themselves to MOC11 and basically all the final stages, and they just needed a little bit of help to push them to the full, you know, 5 stars, full star experience. But, you know, I think this budget break team did very well for what you would expect from it. Basically, you know, no stellar Jade investment, and being able to clear most of the game is, you know, it's pretty good for new accounts. Definitely build a budget break team if you have not yet. Finally, Lynx. You know, Lynx is a better healer than she shows here because obviously I don't have traces maxed out, and her relics could get improved. I do think that Lynx being the healer that you take into the end game is something that you have to do at one point, but I personally don't like doing it for too long because, like we discussed, her healing does have a lack of reaction, and so if somebody goes into a critical state, she only has her ult to save them, and that's actually a big weakness to these 4-star healers. You know, the same goes for Natasha. Natasha is like in a decent spot if you can get her to E4 because the ult becomes so cheap, and especially against these new wolf enemies where they do so many attacks. She will basically have her ult like every turn or every other turn. But you know, she's in the same place as Lynx. She is obviously in a better place than Bailu. Like, at least she has some, you know, actual cleansing. And Bailu, you know, there was a thing about Bailu where for a moment I considered leveling her because I realized, you know, maybe the crowd control in these final stages isn't so bad. But the problem with Bailu is that none of these traces improve her ability to resist crowd control. And so, yeah, she has a res, and it's like, okay, maybe if somebody dies, that's not so bad. But the problem is if Bailu gets crowd controlled, that's bad. So, you know, I do think that Natasha and Lynx are the better healers. One weird thing about the new player experience is that you don't really have that many sustain choices now, because, like, you have Natasha, but because your Harmony MC and March are in these form, like, you kind of don't have a healer until you pick up Lynx, but Lynx you have to go into Pure Fiction too. So you're starting this endgame with only one sustain, really. It's awkward. They really should add some more 4-star sustains. Like, it's been so long since we've had one, and really what I mean is we're missing a preservation 4-star. There's basically no... We've had none since the game launched. It's kind of weird. Finally, Asta. You know, Asta is okay. She's a decent fire hat for March. We leveled her up because we could, and we used her a little bit, but in general, we just ended up going with Himiko. I think Himiko's follow-ups are probably better once you have Wingsha. And so in total, we were able to level up, let's see, about like 12 characters. But at that point, that means also that like we're basically tapped out of resources. We have nothing left. We would basically now be in farming phase for the next characters. So that's the end of the project. This account is going to get retired because maintaining 2 accounts is a pain and it takes actually a lot of time. And the reason I did this specific challenge of 1 month was because I knew that I wouldn't have to play both this account and my other account at the same time. I could just focus on this one for now. And the future of videos will continue on the other account, which is actually very similar to this account. It also has a Fei Xiao, it also has a Robin. But because it started in April, I also have a Firefly and a Ruin Mate, and I have a bunch more of the standard banner characters because that account actually lost basically every character 50-50. So I can make more new player videos focused around standard banner characters like Welt and Japard and so on. The next video will probably be the Linksha video before her banner rotates because I do have a lot to say about her. I think she's a terrific character and I do want to put out a video giving her a fair shake. And then after that, probably a relic video because a bunch of commenters had asked me about how did I get these relics, which people thought were very good, but I thought was just average. But the other account, while I was working on this one, was basically just sitting farming relics. So I have about 2 months of relics on that account that I haven't even looked at. And so the video I would want to do is to show how to farm relics, how to level things up, at least my philosophy, and give an idea of what kind of relics you can expect if you just sit down and do nothing but spend all your energy on relics for about 2 months. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.